Welcome to Stupid Builds, where I will show you some stupid builds. Some of these builds are our own creation, some are from our live stream chat, but all of them are stupid because of how strong they secretly are. The most common form of stupid build, in fact the only form of stupid build ever featured here, have been PvP builds. But today is a special treat because PvE has been categorically kicking so much ass it's actually worth playing for reasons other than loot. Do I dare say that I am having fun? No, hell hath frozen over this day. The build in question makes use of the Tommy's Matchbook, the thrice buffing, high rate of fire, large magazined auto rifle with a kink for masochism and indiscriminate alien arson. The reason for our choice of this futuristic mafia bullet hose is primarily to make use of the unbelievable amount of solar investments handed fist over fist to us like a pyromaniac Mr. Beast video. But even if you are like me and aren't fully leveled in your artifact, the simple combo of Kindling Trigger for Scorch while Radiant and Flint Striker for Radiant from Solar Precision kills will make you understand the silliness of this season. The main idea is to simply level your Tommies in the general vicinity of the killing and pin the trigger down like you are trying to kill a wasp nest with a can of Lysol. Tommies will deal Scorch damage and increase weapon damage to your targets as well as granting you Radiant, all of which we can make devilish use of. The second piece of this puzzle is, now hear me out, Sanguine Alchemy. Why Sanguines when we have so many other top tier options for DPS for our Solar Warlock, you may ask? We have three simple reasons: fun factor, team support, and versatility. While you are mowing down hordes of enemies with a fully automatic flamethrower, your Rift will stay active for longer, on top of giving you even more bonus damage than what your artifact mod's Radiant is already granting. In fact, it will last so long that you could very easily snag another Rift while still standing in your current one. I find pockets of survivability like this to be increasingly useful as Bungie is seemingly cranking up enemy density and vacant damage on Guardians with every new update. The team support reason within this framework, I should hope, is easy enough to understand, but for the Hunter mains out there, let me draw it out for you. Keeping other people alive is a good thing. Think of it like this. If your friends stay alive, then you don't have to use your invisibility to go revive them. I know this is shocking news, but please stay with us. Your allies can very easily set up camp on your healing rift while you continue to make a choir out of the death sounds of Scorn and Taken. This healing will also negate the Tommy's self-inflicted damage assuming you hipfire, which is also more accurate. This we wrapped up together with a kinetic grenade launcher and a chill clip demolitionist rocket launcher with, of course, Well of Radiance. Your DPS won't be worthy of an overhyped YouTube video, but you will find your time with this in PvE far from mediocre. You might even have fun. What about in PvP? Well, I should hope the general requirement to stand in place like a turret hurling insults at the enemy team for them to please come and challenge you should give you the answer. The Tommy's is very adequate in PvP. Some will love it. Others, like myself, will tolerate it. It is rather rare you will ever find a situation where staying plopped down in one small circle for as long as the Sanguine Alchemy can provide to be the correct course of action to win a game or score big kills. Similarly, the grenade launcher ended up renewing my prayer life because I had a very hard time getting this thing to land consistent damage unless the hand of God intervened. In short, I found that flinging fire at the faces of foes to be a farce of fancy, that I fairly fitly fought frightfully to fulfill, but less unfortunately my firearm was not favorable for any of the finest fire teams in 5v5s or more. Lastly, for our fragments, we ran Solace, Singeing, Empyrean, and Ashes. For PvE, try this with Touch of Flame and Heat Rises for your aspects. For PvP, I recommend swapping Heat Rises for Icarus Dash. 3 burnt s'mores out of 4 California gender reveals. Would you like to see a new feature added to YouTube? Get out of full screen on this video and watch what happens when I say that you should both like and maybe subscribe. Neat, huh? Well, go on. Like and subscribe. With Solar being as juiced up on space drugs as it is, I was desperate to see how hot we could burn. This next idea is concerning for the sandbox, to say the least. Taraba is a restrictive and demanding weapon, but its payoff is absolutely worth it. But you and I both are aware this weapon is old news, and worse, it didn't even receive a change this patch. So why bother? Precious scars. This mishap in Hershey's Kiss Helm will now grant restoration instead of flat healing on kills with weapons matching your subclass elements. This means that on a Solar Titan, We are immediately locked and loaded with some devilish synergies. Taraba wants you to be shot at. Our healthcare specialist advises us that dying is generally bad for your health. So the precious scar sits as the middleman to allow us to chain kill after kill after kill, readying and unleashing the furious solar lead into your enemies. But let's make the Vanguard make up new definitions of war crimes and run this with Ember of Tempering to make solar weapon chains drop fire sprites, and Ember of Mercy to allow those fire sprites to grant even more healing. If played correctly, the only thing that will hold you back from running over the tops of anything you decide has been shown enough mercy to live this long will be your reload speed. Not even heavy weapons want to cross paths with the pissed-off Taraba. Still not convinced? Alright. Do you remember all that talk in the previous build about getting free Radiant and Scorch from the artifact mod just from running a solar weapon? Everything carries over here. In other words, by simply blasting your victims with your Taraba, you will gain even more bonus damage from Radiant, and you will scorch them. And on Titan, we can use the aspect Sol Invictus to create sunspots on the sudden deathbeds of enemies. Do you really understand the downright malice we have just described to you? By the 9, if some snot-nosed commentator told me this is their idea of a balanced crucible not even 6 months ago, I would have laughed in their face. Yet here we are! 5 Firebird guitar solos out of 5 Pontiac Firebirds. Thank you for your patience, Hunters. Your turn. With how much excitement both the Warlocks and the Titans gave me, I was looking forward to what Bungie decided to cook up for your reworks. We ran the Shards of Galanor and an old combo that still makes me chuckle. Cryosthesia and a throwing knife. The idea of the build being that the knife kills are made effectively free from the Cryosthesia freeze, and those kills loop our super. Unfortunately, I was sorely disappointed. Not that I shouldn't be surprised, but the energy gain from the Shards of Galanor is overall rather small. At least in an environment like 6v6, we didn't reach any new super thresholds we couldn't already achieve naturally. Scoring an average performance, we were able to nab exactly 2 supers. With a better, more experienced knife juggler, could this be 3? Maybe. In 3v3s like Trials, is getting a super 30 seconds early a possible game changer? Absolutely. But I can't see the reason to run these over a more standard hunter exotic. Heck, I have heard the Celestial Nighthawk does a similar effect, but you only need solar precision kills. Despite all my qualifications, I still adore this build. It is a surefire way to piss people off. After just one blast from the Cryosthesia, they are given VIP tickets to their execution via a long-range knife flying through the air towards their frozen skulls. I have heard stories of people witnessing this in real time. They tell me they experience time slow down, as a chorus of angels sing Deus Irae, right before the world shatters in an explosion seemingly larger and more dramatic than normal. I run it with a lightweight knife for faster throw speeds, and a blunt executioner round battle rifle for even further synergy. These are all, of course, paired with On Your Mark and Knock 'em Down, with our key fragments being Ember of Torches, Solus, and Empyrean. 4 holiday candles out of 1 dethawing Mariah Carey. Our final build I had the least hope for, but still found myself really enjoying. Monte Carlo is a fuel for the fire for any melee-focused build. Even if its exotic catalyst is extremely underwhelming in PvP, its base stats alone keep the weapon at least somewhat relevant. Severance Enclosure is the Dogecoin investment of exotic Titan armor. Its latest buffs were a weak attempt by Bungie to try and give this exotic some place somewhere in the meta, granting its explosions the ability to chain. No sane person should ever use these in PvP unless they are a slave to fashion, because they do look pretty cool. So what did we do? We used them in PvP, of course! Was it worth my time? Somewhat. If this exotic had released as is back in either the beta or even Destiny 1, they would be fantastic. But unfortunately, power creep is like a boa constrictor around the neck of the sandbox, so this exotic feels very underwhelming. Despite this, I was still able to grab a very small amount of utility out of these. We ran the Throwing Shield and the Monte Carlo with the Severance with the aspects Controlled Demolition and Offensive Bulwark. Sometimes when you gather enough mediocre things together, they form a Voltron of an off-meta powerhouse. This was not one of those times. Throwing Shields suck, Severance sucks, Monty is passable, and our shotgun has a sore back. Maybe one day these things will be worth their weight in kilobytes, but not today.
And before we close out today, this is the point shop. This is a new thing that we're doing here at TDT. The idea is that you'll interact with us, you'll earn points, and then these points you can use to redeem these items. What do these items do? You're gonna have to figure that out. If you want more details, I'll leave a pinned comment to the Discord post, or I'll explain some of the rules and such, but I think this is really cool. Let me know what your thoughts are on it below. I'll be giving away a point to a subscriber who messages the word orange in their text. Not the word by itself, it has to be cleverly included in their message.
Subscribe to keep us ranting. Bless your faces, and deuces.